What up, guys? Let you guys finish your food. Is that good? Not cutting weight or anything. Don't worry.
I'm
just messing with you.
Sorry about that. But welcome back, sir. I know how excited you are to fight a guy like Cub Swanson on Saturday. When you got offered that fight and you heard that name, what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, so I was in my living room, and my manager, Matt Arroyo, called me. And at first, he's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, like I'm ready." He's like, UFC Tampa, and right away I was like, "Let's go!" And he's like, "Cub Swanson," and I was like, "Oh my!" I couldn't believe it. And my wife later described it to someone as the happiest she's ever seen me. And I'm obviously married with 2 kids, so I guess that was one of the bigger moments of, that's the happiest I've been apparently, but not really, obviously. But yeah, I was super excited. Cub's a legend of the sport. I remember watching him before I even started training martial arts. I was at a party watching him in the WEC, and I wasn't even training MMA. So he's been there, done that, and it's exciting to fight him, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and get my hand raised.
You thought this is a co-main event worthy fight from Jump Street, and no matter how you got there, you got there. So, and you get to do it in Tampa, which I know is very exciting for you. What does this mean to you, knowing that you are now the co-main event?
It's cool, man, and for me, it's a little bit of redemption. The last time I was a co-main event was the Barbosa fight, which didn't go my way, but yeah, when it first got announced, I was like, oh, man, it's definitely going to be on I was hoping, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be on the main card, I think. And then a few fights got pushed and dropped out or whatever. And then now here we are at the co-main event. So if anything happens to Buckley or Covington, we're just gonna keep moving up to the main event. But no, it didn't even have to be the co-main event. It's just, really cool that it is going to be. It's going to be later, which I'm kind of getting acclimated to staying up late. I'm not 25 partying every night anymore. So I'm just super excited for the whole situation.
Since the Kyle Nelson fight in 2020, you've flip-flopped wins and losses, and then you're coming off the fight with Yusuf Zalal, who has looked incredible since returning. Do you feel like the numbers and the MMA math is on your side here on Saturday?
Yeah, man, I gotta get back to that winning streak that I was on. When I got into the UFC, I was on a great run, and we've gone back and forth. Which I don't know if it's like some mental thing that I got to overcome, but no matter what, I go out there to try to win every fight, and Saturday night's not going to be any different.
You said your wife described just getting the news of fighting Cub Swanson as the happiest she's ever seen you outside of the usual stuff. But what will your reaction be? What will she see with a win over Cub Swanson?
Honestly, it's expected for me, man. I trained so hard for this training camp. I did everything right. All these extra strength and conditioning sessions that I didn't want to do. All these cold plunges and hyperbaric chambers and sauna sessions. All the extra mitt work and sled work. So, I try not to get too excited when I win or, too depressed when I lose. So it'll be, just like a good finale for this training camp that was super long.
And then last thing, I wanted to just get your take on this because the champion of your division, Topuria, is saying now he wants to go up to 155. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't really have too many thoughts on it. I do know that, pretty much every fight week when we're cutting weight, I'm like, man, I should just move up in a weight class. And then you go against real good-sized 155ers, and they're a lot bigger. And I know he had the one fight with, I think, Jai Herbert, where it looked like, it was a more competitive fight than he probably would have liked. So I think it's going to be tough. It's tougher than you think because some of those 155ers are pretty big.
He's called out Charles Oliveira, and obviously he's shown interest in fighting Islam Makhachev. You're saying that you wouldn't favor him in those fights?
I don't know, man. I think if he does it right, and if he has a good strength and conditioning program and puts a little bit of size on, he's a stud, man. He's a very good fighter. So against Charles Oliveira might be a pretty good matchup. Islam, that might be tough. But again, Volkanovski looked very good against Islam the first time they fought. So, I mean, he's got the championship mindset. So I think, no matter what he does, I think he'll be competitive with anyone.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot of turmoil in the division. Maybe years past with Volkanovski's dominance, there seems to be a clear path. But right now, the way how you look at the division, how do you feel about it? Do you like this sort of turmoil and sort of chaos that's going on?
Yeah, man. I've always said this. Obviously I'm probably a little biased, but I think the 145 division is the most exciting division. I think either the featherweight or lightweight or even bantamweight has, those are the ones that I obviously watch and pay the most attention to. I think it's exciting, man. I think we've had some great champions with Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Arnold Allen's right up there. Giga and all those guys. We have a very exciting division. Cub's a legend of the sport. I got to get past him, and then I can focus on those guys that are, in the top 15.
Yeah. And one more regarding your actual fight. You're fighting Cub Swanson. You said you're super excited to fight him, and you're super happy to get the matchup. Is this the coolest fight you've ever had in your career? In considering you fought guys like Edson Barboza and some other well-known guys.
Yeah, I would put it right up there with the Edson Barboza fight. Was definitely I was like, holy crap, just highlight reel on highlight reel. The Shane Burgos fight, because it was at Madison Square Garden, that was a special one for me, and I'd like to get that one back. I'd like to go back to MSG because I'm training with Shane now. Definitely go back to MSG and fight. But yeah, it's definitely up there, and unfortunately, I've had a lot of big moments that I came up short on. And so this would, going out there and getting a win, this would definitely be the best moment of my MMA career.
Do you have any favorite moment of Cub Swanson, being a fan of him?
Man, the Doi Ho Choi fight, I'm probably saying his name wrong, but that was definitely a crazy, exciting fight. It would probably be that one. Just being in a war like that, that literally put him in the Hall of Fame, that's the type of fight that I want to bring on Saturday. And I know we're both capable of it, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
By the way, did you see the Doo Ho Choi call out of Bryce Mitchell?
Yeah, I saw that. It was
think about it.
I think that's a good fight, man. Especially they were just on the same card. I think he had the flat Earth thing.
Yeah, he posted a picture of the Earth.
Yeah, and I saw Bryce said it was CGI, which they're both exciting fighters. He looked really good against Nate Landwehr. So I think that'd be a great fight. Bryce is always game and, always says interesting things on the microphone, which I'm a fan of that. So I think that's a good fight.
Thank you.
Billy, when you moved to your
what's up, Kevin?
Oh, good. When you moved here from New York, 15-ish years ago? If I said, okay, you're going to be a co-main event at Amalie Arena, what would that Billy Quarantillo have said?
Yeah, oh, man, it was something that I was, kind of dreaming of, but I knew I had so many obstacles in the meantime. When I first moved here in 2010, I was an 0-1 amateur fighter, and I would literally run around Amalie. I would go to the Sabres Lightning games, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to fight here one day. But that was deep in the back of my head. It was almost like a joke. And sure enough, man, the universe has a funny way of showing you that what is possible. And so it's just I've said it all week long. I'm grateful to be here, and it is really a dream come true.
And you walked out of the tunnel at Madison Square Garden and some big arenas. Is it going to hit a little different Saturday at Amalie when you do make that walk?
Yeah, the walk is always something special for me because again, it took me over 10 years just to get to the UFC, which is a long time goal. So every walkout, except at the Apex doesn't really feel that same energy. But yeah, it's going to be special for me walking out. But then once I get in the cage, and I'm sure Cubs walk in second, I'll move around a little bit and I'll get ready to throw down, and that's what I do best. And
you've had some big moments away from the octagon, just family-wise, business-wise in the last year and a half. Just where is your headspace now that you had a lot of balls in the air there, and now you can just focus on this fight, in your hometown?
Yeah, I'm just this, the last training camp against Zalal when, he actually took the fight on shorter notice. I kind of had an opponent change and didn't do what I had to do to make that adjustment with the opponent switch. And again, I had a lot of distractions earlier in the year. At the time, my wife was 8.5 months pregnant. I was going through a lot of, mental stuff. And this training camp, I made sure I'm listen, I got a lot of stuff going on. I dished off some of the stuff at work, at PAC, at my gym. And so I just focused on this fight, man. Like I said, I was doing a lot of extra stuff, the extra strength and conditioning, the extra recovery session, making sure my body is right where it needs to be to perform at a peak on Saturday night.
And last one for me. A lot of people in combat sports don't make it to their mid-30s, in a career and after a loss or whatever. Just what mentally and physically have you had to do right for more than a decade to get to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I always say I got into this sport late. I didn't really start training martial arts until I was 19. My first amateur fight, I was 21 years old already. So I always had that chip on my shoulder that the odds of me making it to the UFC were already slim. So I've always done everything I could do to get there. In these last few years, I really focused on my nutrition, focused on the recovery sessions. I bought my own sauna and cold plunge at my house. So my neighbors think I'm crazy. I have that in my backyard. I got a bunch of kids' toys and a sauna and a cold plunge. Just making sure I do everything right, make sure I keep my body healthy. Because you're absolutely right. Cub's 41 years old. I just turned 36 on Sunday. So I know I got a handful of fights left, and I'm planning on making these last few fights my best fights, of my career.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Billy. Great.
What up, Sean?
What's up, bro? How's the conversations been with Matt Frivola? Because I know that's your boy, right? And he's kind of gone through a rough 2 losses, and you guys are always there to support each other. So like, how's it been on your end, just kind of being there for your boy?
Yeah, it's luckily we've both have been there and done that, taking big losses, had huge wins and big losses. Luckily he's a new father, and he's kind of focused on that right now. He will be at the fight on Saturday, so I look forward to. I'll see him before the fight. We're gonna go out to dinner and everything. It's been tough, man. It's a brutal sport. Saturday night could be the best, one of the best nights of my life, or it could just be really disappointing, especially in my hometown. And we know what we signed up for. So he took it on the chin. He's been in this position before. Luckily, he still has fights on his contract. So I'm just hoping he can go out there and get a huge win in his next one and kind of, just make him feel better.
And then what did you think about the Aljamain Sterling and Mobzar fight? Because, from a fan perspective, it was great to watch. But Aljo kind of said afterward, he's like, man, I don't really know if I want to go and try to climb the ladder again and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I know Matt was probably thinking the same thing after his fight, and I think I've definitely felt that too after the Barbosa fight. Like the day or two after, you're like, man, what am I even doing this for? Why am I putting myself out there? Especially now that you're in the UFC and you have people DMing you about their parlays and how much you suck and this kind of stuff. It adds to it, but then you brush yourself off, and you know what you're capable of. You'll watch another fight, and man, I want that feeling again. It's an addicting feeling. To answer your question, I thought that fight was incredible. I thought those grappling exchanges were the highest of levels, and I think it came down to that third round. And Aljamain lost a position towards the end. And I think it cost him the fight. I think by now he's probably ready, and he realized he didn't lose a spot in the rankings. He's right in the mix, and he can do really well against most of the featherweights. So I think he'll be back, I'm sure, and we'll see Matty Boy back as well.
I got to ask, now that you mentioned it, what's the worst DM that you've gotten as far as people, my parlay and this and that, right? Do you have a specific one you can remember?
Yeah, I got a funny one. It's not probably the worst one. So after the Gavin Tucker fight was the first time I was like, holy crap, man, these people are not happy about this. But it was a funny one. It wasn't really funny, but it was from The Ultimate Fighter. It was years and years and years ago. Me and my wife, and that's one reason I don't like to tag my wife and stuff, because people they started reaching out. First they were talking smack to me, and then they were saying stuff to my wife, just your husband, your boyfriend sucks or whatever. And this is before we had kids, so our dog was our main squeeze, and they messaged her that your dog is ugly, and that was it for her. She freaked out about it. I'm like, listen, they don't mean that. They're just trying to get under your skin. And they said your dog is ugly. And that was I was like, what? They were from a different country. And that was one that always stuck out to me. And ever since that point, I try not to put her out in the spotlight too much, because MMA, just fans in general, especially ones that bet, could be absolutely ruthless. And it doesn't bother me at all anymore. I get it. But to go after animals and stuff, it's just weird. But that was one that has always stuck out to me, because it was the first time I was in that limelight. So it was the first one that I was like, wow, that I didn't expect that.
Billy, one to your right.
Hey, what's up, brother?
How you doing? About the fight, when you step in there with Cub, we know that he has his style, very famous for his style. What are some of the keys for you to be successful against him?
Yeah, just go out there and fight my fight. Not worry about his style as much. Just focus on my game plan. We had a lot of guys that were doing a really good job moving around how he moves. Hands down, darting in. Very aggressive striker. So the biggest thing is just get my timing down. Do what I've been practicing these last couple months in training camp. and just do whatever it takes to, outdog him and go out there and, make it a war like the people want to see and get my hand raised.
And it's been mentioned it's a huge night for you fighting here at home, and you've had some low moments and some big opportunities. So is there a different kind of approach you take to coming into this one?
I think the approach has already kind of been done. The training camp was a lot different than the last time. Just being here is pretty cool. I got to sleep in my own bed last night. I have a knockout win against someone like right next here at the convention center. That's pretty cool. I'm very comfortable in this area, and the hard work is done. I'm just making sure I do everything right these next couple days with the weight cut, and go out there and try to have some fun on Saturday.